Coming up on Down Under EV Adventures, it's 15 months in my Atto 3. We check out the build quality and see how this car is holding up. Welcome back to Down Under EV Adventures, everyone. Glad to have you on board. For those of you who are new listeners, welcome as well. I'll give you a little bit of a quick rundown if you're not familiar. I've had this car, I bought it as a demo back in November 2023. It had about 6,000 kilometers on the clock when I bought it. It was sort of an ex-manager's vehicle at BYD, so it was that he had it for a few months, I believe, before I bought it. There's some footage here of the car when I first bought it. Now my wife and I both have Attos, so you can see my wife's car there. Hers is just a little bit older than mine. She had hers for about a month or two before I bought mine. Now as I'm recording this, you can see that I've done nearly 27,000 kilometers there, just under. So that equates to around about 21,000 kilometers in the time that I've had the car, which is nearly 15 months. Now, when I bought the car, I did have a few things added to it. So I had window tinting done, which is a real must in Western Australia. And also another thing I had done was I had a tow bar fitted, and that's because I do quite a bit of towing. Now, if you're wondering what sort of real-world economy we get from our cars, both my wife and I, as I said, we've been driving now for 15 months or a bit longer, and we can confirm that around town, obviously not towing, this is just with the car, especially in the city, you will easily get 400 kilometers from a full tank of electron. So you get around that 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And that's because obviously you're doing a lot of regenerative braking and you don't tend to do the high speeds, which can really suck the battery with an EV. Now, if we're talking about highway speeds, so again without towing, you'll probably get closer to 300 kilometers, so 320, 330. So you're going to get a lot closer to 20 kilowatt hours. So you'll get something between 18 and 22 when you do a high speed. Now, towing around town, I tow a little 6x4 trailer. I've done episodes on it, you can have a look. I'll get anywhere between 20 and 25. So you're probably going to get closer to 200 kilometers when you do that towing. Now, one great thing about having an EV is if you've got solar, well, you can pretty much charge your car for free. So I've had a couple of solar systems. The first one you can see here is at my old house, and this one here is at the house I'm currently in. Now, the current system is quite old. If you saw my episode on tyres recently, I talked a little bit about it. So I'm in the process of getting some new solar very soon. So if you're interested in solar power, I'm going to do an episode about that coming up. You can learn all about how you can pretty much charge your car for free. As I mentioned in the intro today, this episode is going to be focused a little bit on how the Atto is handling the wear and tear of the harsh climate here in Western Australia, especially the goldfields where I live. And we get very hot summers here. And if you've seen some of the trips I've posted, well, I do also go travelling quite a bit, even on dirt and gravel roads. So I will say overall that I am still enjoying the Atto. It's a very versatile car. Now, I will come back later on in the episode and I will run through some quick pros and cons of how I see the Atto. But for now, let's join me in real time as I start having a look at the inside of the car and checking out the quality and seeing just how much the wear and tear is affecting the Atto here. Let's get into it. Okay, so we'll start off with the interior, and I thought we would focus today a little bit on the quality of the car. So I've been very impressed by the quality, and I'm just going to see how it's holding up. So as you know, although this is a 15-month review, I did buy this car as a demo, so the car itself is actually closer to 18 months old, perhaps a tad more. And I've got my little dog Zoe in the car with me today. It's a rare cooler morning in the Goldfields. We've had a really hot spell recently, and I'm taking the advantage of a cooler morning to do this. Now, I haven't talked about this material here. Now, this is a sort of like a brushed material, like a brushed metal. Not quite sure which one, but that's actually still looking very, very nice. But it's this one here in particular I wanted to talk about. So this is the one that almost looks like a muscle sinew. And when I first got the car, I was a little bit worried that this sort of surface would become very hard after a couple of hot summers. But I'm pleased to say actually that it's really still beautiful and soft. I don't really know what sort of material it is. It's probably a synthetic material. But I have to say it's still lovely, soft and smooth. So that's definitely a high quality material. They've really hit the nail on the head with that. And like I said, with this aluminium. But even this dash in itself, it's a really good quality material they've used here. It's obviously some type of plastic, but no cracks at all. So really the build quality is fantastic, and if we move on to other things, some people have said that that the metal can flake, and that's actually been replaced under warranty for a few people. I've never had any issues with it at all, but that's because when I change gears, I don't touch this. Maybe some people have bigger hands, or they just, I don't know why they would put it there, but it's, I'd never touch it, so never had an issue. I don't think this has ever been replaced under warranty. I could be wrong. The beautiful crystal glass here still looks fantastic. Just one little thing here, little mark here. I'm not quite sure what that is. Possibly from when I stuck my old garage key on there. Now I've got it here. So I don't know why. That's the only little blemish really on the interior. Now, if you go back and have a look at my accessories video, I'll put a little link in the description, but you can see where I got some of these protection covers here. So I've got one here on the center console which matches the trim here, the blue trim, and also on every door handle as well. Now they're lovely and soft, and they're a good accessory. It will protect, you can see the real material here. So hopefully when I go to sell it, well, when I do go to sell it, I'll probably leave these on anyway. But if somebody didn't want them, they'd have a lovely new sort of material underneath. Now, if we quickly just look at this door handle, which I really love, it's nice and chunky. This metal here is also, it's wearing as good, if not better, as most of my previous cars, which were Japanese. So, they're really nailing the build quality with it. Little bit of scratching here on the plastic. It's not too bad. Obviously, this is a high traffic area, which gets a lot of wear. But under here, you can see it's all looking pretty good for a car that's, probably in real terms is approaching a couple of years old. I think that's pretty good. Now I'll just quickly show you. So this is the cover here. So you can see it all matches the color of the actual seats. Now you can see I've put seat covers on the front. The back I usually put towels and things on as well. That's because I carry a lot of stuff. The seat covers are simply because these seats are a sort of synthetic material. It gets very hot. If you know anything about Western Australia, you know our summers are very, very hot, and also our winters are quite cold. So this is a great material. Now, if you're wondering about the heated seats, if they work through this, I'm pleased to say yes, they do still work through this as well. And, it's only probably a couple of months of the year I'd need to use heated seats. And the rest of the time, really this material is fantastic. What do you think, Zoe? Do you like the seats? She never complains, so they can't be that bad. Now I'll just quickly show you the back here. Now, apologies, my car is filthy on the outside. I haven't had a chance to wash it yet. I've been so busy. So as you can see, I carry a lot of stuff in the back here. A lot of the equipment that I use in the business. Notice is this plastic here has got a few scratches on. I don't know how well you can see that. That's because it's a very high traffic area. I do have these covers on, which you can, if you watch the accessories videos, you can see. So they're on protecting the back of the seats. So you can see there on the back of the seats because I've folded the seat down there. So they're really good. And of course I've got this rubber cover there too. So they're the sort of protection that you can have. But I didn't, I don't know if there's something you can buy to put on here. But, a little bit of a scratching. I might see if I can buy some sort of paint or material to paint over that to make it look a little bit better. But apart from that, it's wearing very well. The quality is really good. So just a quick look on this side. So this is the protection that I bought for the back of the seats. And I did buy floor mats. I think it's easier to keep clean than carpet if you've got the rubber mats. But yeah, there's the protectors again, looking great. And there's a few little tiny nicks, but really the build quality is, I would say they've really done a fantastic job with the build quality. And this is what this looks like on the other side. So you can see all the plastics are of a very good quality. It's a little bit hard, but really it's wearing pretty good. It's pretty much what you'd expect from a good quality car. Alright, let's have a look at the outside. So for this episode, we're going to focus again on the quality of the car. I've already talked quite a bit about the design in previous reviews I've done about the car, which of course I certainly like, as you know. But if we look at the materials, okay, these dragon scales, it feels like it's a metal. It feels like it's a thin metal. I don't think it's plastic, but that's holding up really well. Obviously you get a lot of dirt and marks on it here. But again, for something which is probably 18 months to 2 years old, in real terms, it's excellent. Things like the badges. Okay, I left the EV badge on there and the Atto badge. I'm a proud EV owner. I'm happy to have the Atto badge on there. I did take the Build Your Dreams off car, or a loan car, and I had it serviced once and I thought it looked pretty good. You can go back and have a look at the episode removing the badges if you wanted to go down that route of removing them. I'll put a link in the description for that as well. But in terms of the quality, these wheel covers, they can get a little bit scratched on the edges, so you have to be careful with that. But that's pretty much like any car, whether it's a wheel or a wheel cover. I've managed to do pretty well with most of mine. I think there might be a scratch on one on the other side. Let me have a look. No, that one looks alright. Oh, I thought I did have a little scratch, or maybe there's a little bit of a scratch here. But in reality, they're holding up pretty well. Now, the paintwork, I have to say, is also doing really well. These badges still look fantastic, including this BYD badge. Now, I'm ashamed to say I do have a little scratch here, which again, I'll have to see if I can find some touch-up paint. But really, apart from that, this is just dirt that you can see on the car. So, really, I think it's pretty good. As long as you're careful, I think the car will hold up pretty well. I can see this car still looking pretty good after 5 years, really. I'm really blown away, to be honest. All this, the glass and everything, the plastics, they have really done a great job. If you're the sort of person that wants to buy a car and have it for 10 years, well, I think, if the Atto suits your purpose, I don't think you'll have any issues. As long as you, wash it regularly, and don't scratch it, you'll be fine. You'll have no issues with that with the build quality. Just quickly, I'll mention that if you saw my episode when I did the 12-month review, I think it was, or one of the reviews I did, you know that I did have some issues with the shade sail getting caught and it tore, and it was replaced under warranty. So it's all good now, you can see. So there's really no issues with it. So that was the only thing that I had to replace under warranty in the time that I've owned the car. Now, I thought we'd just finish off by having a quick look here underneath. There's my little frunk, and I'll just take that out so you can have a look at the motor. So yes, it's a little bit dusty and dirty. You can hose off the motor, you won't do any damage to it. You can see it's just a little bit dusty, but again, it's holding up extremely well. It looks fantastic, and of course, because you don't really have too much oil down there, you don't have all the oil stains that you can have with an ICE car. So I think it's all looking pretty good and wearing as you'd expect, if not better, than most cars. So really, I would say I've have no issues at all in regards to how the longevity of this car is going to play out, should I decide to keep it. But like I said, for those people who want a long-term car, the Atto could tick all the boxes for you. So I'll finish off with some pros and cons of the car. So I'll start with the cons. So I have mentioned this too previously, but the battery is a 60 kilowatt hour battery. A slightly larger one would be nicer, especially for those long trips. But look, it's totally livable. I sort of dislike the fact that it is only a front wheel drive and it misses out on the all-wheel drive, and I do miss having that all-wheel drive capability, especially if you tow or do a lot of off-road trips like I do. So my next EV will probably be an all-wheel drive. And also I would say the size, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit too small. Again, it's mainly when I'm traveling. I found it's probably about 15 to 20% too small for my wife and I, especially if we take Zoe with us as well. So yeah, most likely my next EV will be slightly larger as well. And finally, some of the safety features and the noises associated with them, which I realize is a problem for many cars. Now, I'm still running version 1.6 on mine, but my wife has version 1.8 on hers, and she still doesn't like some of the annoying stuff, especially like the lane keeping, which needs a lot of work and can really jerk the steering wheel. So I think some of that software still needs a tweak. I think it wouldn't take too much to actually improve that side of the Atto. Now if we turn to the pros, well, it has got some useful ground clearance, so that makes it sort of an attractive proposition in terms of if you want to choose between a sedan or an SUV. I think an SUV is a bit easier to get in and out of, and it is, like I said, very useful when you do want to go down some of those off-road tracks. Now the lights are fantastic. Let's have a quick look at some of the lights here, which I filmed yesterday. Now both the front and the back of the car have this lovely light bar that is across the front of it and across the rear that you'll see in a minute. So I think it looks fantastic. There you go, you can see the rear one there. So it's quite striking at night. I think that's really nice look they've got going there. And of course the interior too, which is customizable to different colors. So you can go into the menu and select different colors. So I've got a little bit of a blue theme going. So you can see all the various little sections of the sunroof controls there. You've got them on the doors, the main part of the doors, all the little LED lights, and of course the door handles themselves. and even extending down to, yeah, the little boot release there on the driver's side, and of course the steering wheel, the center console, and I just think they look fantastic. And also, would have to say, I'm just loving having an EV, and especially because I've got solar. So if you've got solar out there, have a think about it, because you can do, well, I can do 95% of my charging with my solar. Doesn't really take me more than 30 seconds to plug my car in after I get home from work. Now I only have to charge it once or twice a week, so I don't even have to charge it every day. It's got an LFP battery chemistry, which is really good. You can charge it to 100%. It's a very safe battery technology. So I advise you to go and do your own research and have a look for battery technologies, but it's definitely a great battery that they've got there in the BYDs, being the LFP. So the only time I really have to pay for charging is when I'm traveling and doing a long trip and having to utilize the DC chargers. So there you have it. I think the Atto will appeal to a lot of buyers. It's a very versatile car. I think it's pretty easy to live with, and I'd even venture to say it's a little bit of fun. So I've mentioned several times, I still think it's a really good package, and I can see people owning one for many, many years if that's what you want to do. Alright, that's it for today's episode of my 15-month review of my BYD Atto 3. So thanks out there for joining me. Hit me up in the comments and let me know what you think of the Atto and if you've had one for any length of time. Alright, as usual, take good care on the roads, and we'll see you very soon with more on Down Under EV Adventures. Take it easy, bye for now.